Hey everybody, welcome back. This is the Mental Workshop where I invite all of you guys to come and think with me. Okay? So, let's do it. Here's the question. We're going to jump right into it. Are we becoming who we choose or who we repeatedly practice? Ooh, I almost slipped up on the word there. Let me say that one more time. Are we becoming who we choose or who we repeatedly practice? Okay, I think that comes down to the individual. Let's think about this for a few seconds. Let's take it by the first kind of piece of that. Are we becoming who we choose? I think if we really wrestle with this one, there's a lot of different ways to think about it. You know, where does purpose play a role in this? Were we innately programmed before we even got into this reality with a purpose? Because then I don't think you have a choice, right? Then that throws out free will. That's fate. You know what I mean? Maybe it has to do with what you believe in, though. And that probably has a part to it, but was it already kind of placed in you at the beginning? Kind of like some seed that you're supposed to grow into? Hard to say. But I kind of like to think of the world as free will. But I'll be more specific than that. I've wrestled with that before. I think it's more limited free will. I think you're working with reality, with the universe, with maybe your creator or intelligent designer. You're working with somebody else if you choose to. I think you can do free will, but I think that ends up being you want to more control reality and control it to help you out. So I don't like to think of it that way because I think that that's when you start to go against reality. And that makes your life full of suffering and harder, in my opinion, from what I've seen, in the way that I kind of see it. Now, that's for me. Now, you might have a different opinion on that. So we're still wrestling with it, though. That kind of says, are we becoming who we choose? That's one way that I don't think you would become who you choose because it was already chosen for you. But let's throw that one out. Let's assume that we have free will. I think that's a good place to be on to really think about this one. So, are we becoming who we choose? So what would stop us from becoming who we want to be? There's so many different things. There's just so many different things. Trying to be a people pleaser. Trying to make everybody else happy rather than you. That is one way that you wouldn't become who you wanted to be, because you would then be trying to become who everybody else wants you to be. Okay, so that's a different way. In that way, you wouldn't becoming who you wanted or who you chose to be. Now, what's another way to kind of think about that? I think it comes down to you. Do you want to take control of your life? What does your own destiny look like? What do you visualize it? And are you making, are you doing things that are moving you in that direction all the time? Or have you given up? Have you thought that maybe it's not for you? Okay, that comes down to more of a personal thing. Maybe when you first started out, you thought the sky was the limit. And, you were designing your reality, you were being taken care of, and then you got tossed out into reality. You had to make a living for yourself. You had to figure things out. And maybe you got lost along that way and you got tired and exhausted. We all do. We get distracted. We're not sure if things are going to work out. Some of us do anyways. Of course, some of us have a good beginning and we're right off to the races, and maybe we land that really good job. Maybe we were very charismatic and good at talking to others. Maybe we got that from our parents. Maybe we developed those skills on our own. Maybe we came from a family with a lot of money. Maybe we didn't, and we were poor, and we can only see that reality, and we think that we don't have a choice in all of that. And okay, I think we've kind of looked at that one from multiple perspectives, different ideas, and that gives us a better scope on that first part. Are we becoming who we choose? I think that comes down to the realities that we're here living in and how we decide to look at those realities relative to our circumstances and the experiences we have. But I think there's a lot to say about people with grit, and people that will stop at nothing to get there, and they will whatever they want into existence. But I think it's hard, depending on where you've started out, what your beginning looked like, and but I think that makes a lot of character for people. They really become something special that reality could never take away from you. Okay, so that's the first part. Now, what's the second part? Or who we repeatedly practice. Again, I think that that's just the other side of the coin. I think that that's just the other side. If you repeatedly practice, like a role or something like that, or like an actor would practice, you're performing at that point. You are kind of making it something easy for you to consistently rely on. And I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, either one. I think it depends on the individual. What would you prefer? What's easier? Does the role or identity that you're filling and you're practicing repeatedly, does it bring you value and meaning into your life? Does it feel good? Do you like who you're presenting yourself as you're performing as an actor, or whatever you want to call it? You're wearing the mask like, I'm a doctor. So I like being a doctor. I like people to know that I'm a doctor. It feels good for whatever reason, and I enjoy helping others. If you feel that way and it brings fulfillment and meaning into your life, then I would say that repeatedly practicing that would make you actually become that. And that's okay. But on the other hand, I think some people don't like the reality that they're in, and maybe they're repeatedly practicing the reality that they're in. And I think that that's maybe where you might want to draw the line, right? If you're unhappy, it's unfulfilling, it's not bringing happiness in life in here. Let's just say you're a factory worker somewhere, okay? Is that really who you wanted to be? Is that really what you wanted to stop as? Maybe temporarily. We all work different positions in life before we get to where we want to get to. That's part of working up and becoming something, okay? So some people get stuck, I think, in those roles, and they think that that's who they are, and they repeatedly practice that role. They get good, they learn what they need to do in order to fulfill that job or role, and they lose who they are in that way. In that way, I don't think that's not good. You should choose who you want to be, or figure that out. Set some time aside to figure that kind of stuff out. So that's what I think. I think it could really be both. And in fact, I think it is both for most of us at some point in our lives. We all want the freedom to choose, but sometimes we get locked into repeatedly doing the same thing, practicing the same things over and over again, until they really just become habitual. They become patterns, and it feels comfortable and natural, because then you almost have to challenge yourself or get yourself out of those routines in order to become something different. So, and that can be challenging, that can be hard. Where do you even start? Where do you begin? What do you need to know? What do you want to be? I think most of the time you want to answer those questions before you make any drastic decisions. But sometimes, if you can't come to those decisions, I think you need to make a drastic decision so that you can shake up your life and do that. So I think that comes down to you, and deciding your position, looking at your life very objectively, without all these emotions and everything behind it, or without all the doubts and fears and all that kind of stuff, looking at your life for exactly what it is, not pretending, not saying, hey, it's going to be okay, when maybe it's not actually going to be okay, or it's not heading in the direction you want to go, or vice versa. Maybe for some of us, we expect it to be somewhere else, but maybe we're already on that road, and it's just patience at this point, okay? But you need to be very honest with yourself. I'm not trying to confuse you guys by giving you guys multiple perspectives to think about and to maybe contradict the other one. I want you to kind of be, figure out which one fits for you, and think about it and land on one. Sometimes you got to make a decision. And that can be challenging. I know I like to think, and thinking isn't really always landing on a permanent decision. It's finding clarity so that you can make a better decision from the clarity that you get. That's the key. That's kind of what this type of thing does. You can get stuck in thoughts and never move, okay? That's not what this is. This is wrestling, showing you guys how to wrestle, how to look at things from different ways, have some fun with it, see different perspectives. Oh, I never really thought about it from that way. I've always enjoyed that. I've always enjoyed when other people take me through that process. But you hear what I'm saying? This is to set you up to see things differently, to see things more clearly, and then make an informed decision on something. And sometimes you'll get to a point, you've probably seen it throughout my channel in doing these things, that they're not always going to give you an automatic answer. Sometimes you actually need to make a hard decision, and you have all the facts. And sometimes getting to that position where, you know, you've seen it clearly enough and you're just wrestling with the same thing over and over again, and you're not getting anywhere with it, that's usually when you know you've kind of come to a point where, hey, I got to make a hard decision. It's this, or maybe find a way to get them both together, or whatever works for you. You got to look at it from yours and what's going to make you happy and what makes the most sense. And that can be hard. There are probably going to be a handful of those in anybody's lives where it just gets to a point where it's really hard to make a decision. Okay, guys, that's all I got for you guys on this one. I think we did a pretty good job wrestling with this one. I kind of liked where we kind of took it in a few different directions there. And I think we found some clarity on that. So I'm happy with that. I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks for being here. See you guys there.